In the Johnson Window Films introductory video, you learned about the basic tools needed for a professional installation, the ideal work environment, cleaning windows, film construction, cutting patterns, and application techniques. And because nothing takes the place of hands-on training in automotive window tinting, we hope you've practiced what you've learned many times on an entire vehicle. Remember, the more windows you tint, the better you'll become. Now it's time to graduate to some advanced tips that will help ensure a faster and easier film installation. Before introducing new tools that will be used in this advanced automotive video, here's a quick review of the knives we use. We recommend using either OLFA's stainless steel silver or yellow cutters. Always use stainless steel snap-off blades to avoid scratching the glass while trimming. Snap off the tips often in order to maintain a sharp tip and precision cuts. OLFA's professional auto lock knife and NT's red dot knives are also excellent choices. A sharp blade or too much pressure can easily scratch glass when trimming out a rear window, so we recommend using a shirt button between the film and the glass as you trim to prevent damage. Cleaning is the most important part of an automotive window tinting process. A white scrub pad is great for cleaning dirty frame and seal areas, as well as window surfaces. The tough material won't scratch the glass or metal frame and can be cut to your preferred size. Because you cannot use a razor blade to clean and prepare a rear window where there's heavy dot matrix, a great tool to use is a O or finer steel wool pad. A steel wool pad can also be used to prep thick defrost lines and to remove adhesive from rear windows. A white sheet is used to protect the rear deck and back seat of the car during film installation. It absorbs water and also highlights the rear window when pattern cutting. A light bar placed inside the car on the rear deck illuminates the interior for increased visibility when using darker film, as well as cutting around borders and seams. Make sure when using a light bar that you do not burn the rear deck of the car. A toothbrush sprayed with mounting solution is used to clean dirt and grime from around rubber gaskets and defroster tabs. A hard card or rubber squeegee can be used to push out the last amount of water from the film after installation, to make sure the pressure-sensitive adhesive is anchored to the glass, and to work out smaller fingers on the film. Additionally, it can be used to work out small creases. Hard cards and rubber squeegees come in a variety of shapes and hardness. We recommend you try several to find the one that works best for you. But remember, getting water out from behind the film is the #1 goal. A file is used for filing off edges on frameless windows to give a factory-tinted micro-edge look. A 1/2 inch wide, flat, single-cut mill file with very fine teeth seems to work the best. A handle will help improve your precision when working with the file. Baby powder is used for dry shrinking window film. It acts like a dry lubricant between the film and the outside of the glass, allowing the film to slide and shrink in all directions when forming with a heat gun. A slammer tool is used to work out the bottom of the rear window and get further into the gaskets on side windows. Black vinyl is used to cover the dot matrix and give it a smooth black border look. This technique for handling dot matrix issues on some cars also gives installers an upsell, increasing profit. Since the #1 enemy of window tinting is contamination, it's extremely important that clean, filtered water be used during the installation process. This will reduce the amount of dust, dirt, and particles in the water generated by other aftermarket operations in the same shop. If you are a mobile installer, we recommend that you fill up your pressure sprayer bottles before you leave the shop floor to begin work at the installation site. There are also portable water filtration systems that can be easily transported and attached to a water source at the job site. In our introductory video, you learned that cleaning is the most important step in the automotive window tinting process, particularly on the rear window. Because you can't use a razor blade on windows with defroster lines, the standard practice is to clean and prepare it with a white Teflon scrub pad. Let's quickly review the process. Spray the rear window with solution. Clean it thoroughly using the scrub pad. Rinse by spraying with more solution. Then squeegee the window. and finish up around its edges with a paper towel. Now that we've reminded you of the basics, here are 2 additional prep tips for cleaning the dot matrix and defroster tabs. In certain areas where there is heavy dot matrix, additional preparation will be needed. After spraying the window with solution and cleaning it with a white Teflon scrub pad, we recommend using a O or finer steel wool pad on the dot matrix area. Be sure to test the steel wool pad on your trimming glass to make sure that it will not scratch the rear window surface. A steel wool pad is used primarily on the heavy dot matrix areas. It will help remove much of the excess material left during the manufacture of the window. This process will also help the film adhere much better to the dot matrix. A steel wool pad can also be used on cars with thick defrost lines. It will help loosen up the corrosion that has built up over the years. Keep in mind that after using the steel wool pad, a better than average cleanup is necessary. Any particles of steel wool left behind will not only contaminate your installation, they will also rust. So be sure to clean up well after using the steel wool pad. A great way to get rid of the grit and grime around defroster tabs is by using a toothbrush. Spray a toothbrush with solution and scrub around the tabs. Then rinse thoroughly, squeegee, and wipe it out as you would normally. In our introductory video, you learn the wet shrink technique for applying window film. A more advanced technique, used for a single-piece, curved rear window installation, is called the dry shrink method. Begin by making sure the outside of the window is clean. Use your normal cleaning solution and lint-free paper towels. Now put a very light dusting of baby powder on the glass. This will allow the film to slide around as it needs to during installation. To get a nice even coating, we recommend putting a small amount in your hand and blowing it out all across the glass. This acts as a friction reliever between the film and the glass when you are heat shrinking. Next, moisten a paper towel with mounting solution and wipe a single horizontal line across the middle of the window. Then wipe a line up and down each side of the window, making a large H. These points of moisture will act as the anchor for the film as you roll it across the window. At this point, it's important to move fast before the moisture evaporates. Lay a piece of film over the outside of the window with the factory edges at the top and the bottom. Move it around so it evenly covers the glass, stretching the film out with your hand and using the H pattern area to hold it down. Now mist the center with mounting solution. Squeegee out over the H pattern you made to anchor the film and spread it out evenly. This will give you a starting point for working on both pockets. Another hot tip for working on rear window film installation is to use a standard button when trimming your rough pattern and detailed final cuts. This tool will help keep you from scratching the soft glass frequently found in new cars. Place the button underneath the film. Put your OLFA knife blade into the button and press through the film, cutting your pattern as you would normally. Using this dry shrink method, cut the pattern about 1/4 to 1/2 inch larger on the sides and a full 1 inch larger along the top and bottom. This extra film allows for it to crinkle a bit on the edges during the heat shrink process, but still gives you area to trim off for a perfect installation. After cutting your rough pattern, center the film. Make sure that your H pattern is still moist and holding down the film to prevent it from moving on either side. After the heat shrink process, you will give it a final trim to match the window perfectly. Begin heat shrinking at the base point of the top or bottom pocket. The dry shrink method will not only allow you to shrink a larger area more quickly, but will also help eliminate any remnants of the heat shrinking pattern when installed over defroster lines. Just like wet shrinking, all dry shrinking must be done at the top and the bottom of the window along the factory edges. Using a circular motion with your heat gun, work the window in quarters, from the center out, and pulling the film towards the factory edge. Allow the shrinkage to occur throughout the entire area instead of just in tiny bands as you would in the wet shrink method. This also eliminates or helps to reduce iridescence or ghosting with all metal films and allows you to shrink a harder curve more easily. After the top quarter, move down the center again, coming back towards you, working only 1/4 of the window at a time. Only shrink as far as you need to, which means getting the film formed but not laying it down perfectly yet. You'll begin to see the film form to the shape of the glass. Smooth out the film using your free hand. Now move to the other side of the car, working in the same way, 1/4 of the window at a time. As the film forms, don't overheat it. It doesn't need to lay perfectly flat at this point. Now that the majority of the shrinking is done, revert to the basics of the wet shrink method to lay the film out. Be sure that it is formed everywhere necessary. Lift the film up and mist the window with mounting solution. Lay the film back down. Mist again on top of the film, and squeegee. If there are any small fingers left after spreading it out and squeegeeing, use the heat gun to shrink them out using the wet shrink method. Starting from the center, squeegee across, down, and then up the window, pulling the film towards the corners. Repeat this process on the other side of the window. The whole process of stretching the film out and squeegeeing with water is to make sure that all fingers are shrunk sufficiently and there aren't any left on the window. Use your hand to move any big fingers of film. Once again, if there are any small fingers left, use the heat gun to shrink them out. Now that the film is spread out, anchored down to the window, and all fingers are gone, it's time to make your final cut. Begin at the bottom of the window. If you're using a button to protect the window, place it underneath the film. Put your OLFA knife blade down into it and draw it carefully along the glass, just barely over the dot matrix. Remove any excess film. Next, trim along the top of the window and the side. Then move to the other side of the window, repeating the same process. Cut around your defroster tabs as your final step. Your pattern is now completed. Remove the film and carry it over to your glass wall. Mist the wall with solution. Then mount the film while you prep the inside of the car window. If there are any fine pieces that need to be cut, do so now. The smoother the cuts, the easier the release liner will come off the film. Your pattern is now ready to be installed. When installing a large piece of film by yourself inside a car, it's important to remember to prep the window completely before you bring the film into the car. When you're ready, peel the liner off and spray the adhesive. Carefully remove the film from the trimming glass and lay it over both hands. Walk backwards to the car. Walking backwards to the car will reduce contamination, which can stick to the exposed film. Enter the car slowly and place yourself in the center of the rear seat. Slowly position the film and carefully bring it to the window, keeping the adhesive from touching any of the interior surfaces. Start the film in the middle of the window and slide it down. Place a little more film against the glass and continue to slide it down. Using this method will allow one person to install a large piece of film without any contamination problems. The reverse roll technique is a great way to eliminate the danger of contamination when tinting large, awkward, one-piece rear windows. This method makes one-man installations easy, especially for tight, limited-access windows. It also works well in large hatchbacks and for use by mobile installers who have to work outside. You can use this technique once you've completed your pattern, heat shrunk it via the wet or dry method, and made the final trim. Instead of moving it to the glass wall, Mist the rear window film with mounting solution. With a paper towel, wipe off any particles that have landed on it while you were working. If you're working in an indoor shop, you can make your install easier by prepping the release liner for easier removal. You're going to prepare the film so you can unfold it and take off the release liner inside the car. Skip this step if you're working outdoors. First, while the pattern is on the outside window of the car, separate the release liner with your teeth or 2 pieces of tape. Then spray it with solution. This will make it come apart more easily once you are inside the car. Be careful where you cut out for the defroster tabs so you don't tear the release liner. From the outer edge of the pattern, slowly peel back the release liner, stopping slightly before the center. Do not let the release liner fold back and touch areas that may contain dirt. Thoroughly wet the adhesive, then lay the liner back down on the film. Repeat this step on the other side of the pattern, leaving about 2 inches in the middle of the pattern still stuck to the adhesive. This will hold the release liner in place when you unroll it onto the glass. After the release liner is back in place, spray the entire pattern with mounting solution. The pattern is now down, the release liner is almost ready to fall off, and the adhesive is pre-moistened. Smooth out as many air pockets as possible with your hand. Now, pick the side of the pattern